think about having to move out of Mannford?
Well, we're leaving a pretty good little town, but the town we're going to is going to be a pretty nice town too. It's going to grow.
Mr. Crutcher, what do you think about having to move out of Mannford?
Well, it's just like this. We didn't ask to move, but the government's going to make us move.
So there's not a lot you can say about it?
No, sir. Not a lot we can say about it.
Well, do you think it's all going to be worthwhile?
I expect it will. Yeah, we'll get probably a better town out of it later years. We're going to build up to 10,000 population.
Well, I think when we all get settled, it's going to be a good place, and I think that it's going to cost a lot of money, but I think we're going to have a good deal when we get everything set up, people get adjusted to it. I think we're going to have one of the grandest places there are in the state anywhere.
Are you married?
Yes, sir.
What does your wife think about it?
Well, she's like some of the rest of them. She doesn't think too much of it.
Roy, what do you think about having to move out of Mannford?
Well, I don't exactly like it.
Don't you think you're going to have more fun in a brand new town?
I don't know. Be more modern, the only thing I know.
The Attorney General quotes from an amendment which we adopted Monday to this bill, which provides that the validity of this bill would have to be tested before you could apportion any money or set up the trust fund or incur expenses against it. He quotes that amendment which we made to the bill and says that in view of that, it would appear, if House Bill 932 is adopted by the legislature, that an authoritative decision of our state Supreme Court may be obtained by the Oklahoma Turnpike authorities before any of the bonds referred to in said bill are issued.
Ten years ago, when I first came to the Oklahoma legislature, I made a tour back north with several other senators. I reported back and said then that the toll road to Wichita Falls could not be financed under that bill because of the traffic. The traffic was just not there. I think time has proved that I was right. 2 years ago, when you introduced the bill to supplement it $500,000, I stated then that it could not be financed on the floor of the Senate, and it has not been. Now on this one, I don't think you're going to finance it now under this bill, because first thing, it's constitutional. Otherwise, I don't think any bond company would have anything to do with it.
The Federal Housing Administration does not have authority, or will not have authority, to continue to insure mortgages on homes. This is very important to not only the builder, but to the home buyer. It's important to the economy of the country. I think it is quite important that this be done. Then secondly, certain authorized programs will lapse if legislation is not passed. For instance, I think it is necessary that the Federal National Mortgage Association be given authority to continue their support of a market. The college housing program, in my judgment, should be continued. There are a number of other programs for the benefit not only of the buyer, but the builder, as well as the economy. And this, I think, is quite important this year that this be done. Well, this is a question that is one that is to be answered yes and no. My judgment is that generally the bill is acceptable. There are items in the bill which I do not approve. There are items in the bill which I like. Some of them I would change. But generally speaking, it's a fairly acceptable bill, yes.
Why the figure of 683? What does that represent?
I haven't the faintest idea. Actually, the average salary adjustment for a patrolman in the police department that we're planning in our new coming budget runs $18, $19 a month. So I don't know where the 683 came from. Obviously, somebody is misinformed.
Have you had any reports of any widespread unrest in the police department as a result of this budget?
No, on the contrary, I think everybody was disappointed, including me. We wished it could be higher, but I think when they understood what we were up against and trying at least at this time to get a salary adjustment based on cost of living, that they're pretty well satisfied that we're doing just everything we can possibly do.
Legislative power to prohibit the manufacture, sale, and giving away, barter, or otherwise furnishing of intoxicating liquors was not dependent upon Article 1, Section 7, Oklahoma Constitution, and the repeal of said section of April 7, 1955 by the people of the state of Oklahoma did not repeal existing statutes enacted under the police powers of the state to safeguard temperance, promote obedience to the law, and to control the use of alcoholic beverages in Oklahoma, which are still in force in effect and are subject to legislative and such legislative acts can only be removed from the statutes of the state of Oklahoma by proper legislative action. That's the gist of the opinion.
Well, the Senate today passed through their House. In fact, they passed one yesterday and passed 4 today through their House, measures that are revenue raising. And under our Constitution provision that no revenue raising measure may be passed at the legislature during the last 5 days of the session. So consequently, we are going to have to either work Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before we can get out of here on Thursday, which will be the 5th day. Or if we don't, then we're going to have to, well, I mean, if we work Friday, we can get out of here Wednesday. If we don't work Friday, then of course the legislative day starts tomorrow and the bills passed today, which would be 1, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We couldn't adjourn before Thursday. Of course, with the 4th of July holiday coming up on Saturday, we don't want, at least I don't want, and I know that most of the legislators don't want, at least in the House, a feeling to start that, well, since we're so close to the 4th of July, we might as well just knock off Tuesday, Wednesday, and come back the following week. Because if we do that, we could very well stay in session till the 1st of August, not doing anything but piddle-paddling with some little legislation that could very well be left on the calendar.
Of course, now I want to emphasize that these aren't farmers' stands, but these are stands that are mostly right around the edge of the metropolitan districts. And they sell such things as tomatoes and okra and crops that are a lot of times trucked in here. We found that in most cases they advertise, for instance, 5 pounds of tomatoes for such and such a price. And when our inspectors have checked them, they find that in almost 100% of the instances that they have been short as much as 1.5 pounds on the 5 pounds. In the cases where the scales aren't off, we'll ask them why they're selling those things that short, and they say, well, it weighs that, and you put them on the scales and they weigh the container and the tomatoes and all.
Are you closing these stands down, Judge?
Oh, no, we are issuing violations, and we're going to continue to check them, and in the case that we find them in violation again, it'll be perfectly obvious the next time we check them that they are doing this maliciously, and we'll file charges against them with the county attorney.
Is this going to be a statewide investigation?
Yes, sir, and it's a permanent thing.
Truce line that has been talked about was nearly a line which was drawn by the attorneys that have been working on this annexation program together with the representatives of Edmond. Now, actually, the thought was that anybody on either side of the line that wanted in Edmond or wanted in Oklahoma City, they could be discussed on an individual basis. But now I think that the thing that's going to make it rather difficult is that both Edmond and Oklahoma City have taken in the same property.
Well, the fact that the city council didn't go along with this agreement, is that going to hurt you in your relation with the other city managers and mayors of Oklahoma County?
Oh, it's bound to hurt because you're put in a position of, well, I wonder if he knows what he's talking about or whether he can back it up.